Reflecting back on this past Sunday, we talked about the long and winding road, if you were here. And as we reflected on the long and winding road that is our life journey, and we also brought Jesus into the mix as we reflected on his journey. And as we looked at his journey and our journey, and we looked at our lives as this winding path that seems to never be point A to point B to point C. Instead, it goes, right? And so where is it all leading? And I think when we, each year, when we come to this celebration called Easter, that as we experience Good Friday, the opportunity that we have is for us to reflect on our life journey. Because as we know biblically, what happened today, was that Jesus was crucified. And so I'm a big one on looking at Bible stories and how we can use them in our life now. So we talked about last Sunday about the long and winding road and how, events happen in our life. And we kind of threw out a question. What if all the crooks and turns on the journey, what if all the events of our life were for us? What if every single thing that has happened in our life, and I can imagine we're all adults, we've all lived through many experiences. Some have been wonderful, and we celebrate them in our memories. And some have not been what we would feel is a positive experience. Some experiences in our lives have been very hurtful, maybe very challenging in whatever form those experiences have taken for us. And so what we talked about on Sunday was, what if everything that we have gone through has in some way had the opportunity, if we embraced it, to bring us back home to ourselves, to a home that in truth we have never left, to bring us back home to an awareness of the truth of what we are. So here we are, and we're on Good Friday. And so the events of this week for Jesus led to that experience, the crucifixion experience. And then on Easter, he was able to rise and claim the truth of what he was. But before that could happen, what he got to do was let it all go. Was to release and let go. And so when we look at the metaphysical, and again, that's just beyond the literal meaning of the crucifixion, what that can mean for us in our lives is that in order for us to have a new beginning, in order for us to have a new awareness, a deeper, fuller knowing, claiming, and expression of the truth of what we are, there needs to be a death to the old. I don't know if you've ever read a book by Robert Brummett. Robert Brummett was just here and led an insight meditation retreat. And he wrote a book called Finding Yourself in Transition. And it's all about endings, void, and beginnings. And this can happen when we say lose a job, move somewhere, we end something, And then once we end something, there's kind of an integration period in between the ending and the beginning, right? And what he calls that is the void. And for many of us, I got to tell you, let's bypass that void. Because the void can feel very dark. And it can feel like we no longer have anything to hold on to. But if we remember, the void is the place where the seed is planted. And it might look very dark in that soil. But when it's fed and watered, that is very rich, fertile growth soil that blooms a new growth, a new flower, a new experience. So, on this Good Friday, we are going to look at what is ours to do to let go of anything that's holding us back right now, or maybe just one thing. You know, what is something in your life that is holding you back right now? That is keeping you from knowing and claiming and expressing the truth of what you are. And I found this really sweet story about a child that was made of salt, who very much wanted to know where he came from. And so he set out on a long journey and traveled to many lands to pursue this understanding. And finally, he came to the shore of the great ocean. "How marvelous," he cried, and stuck one foot in the water. And the ocean beckoned him further, saying, "If you wish to know who you are, don't be afraid." The child walked further and further into the water, dissolving with each step, and at the end exclaimed, "Ah, now I know who I am." See, our journey is always inviting us to know more fully what we are. But part of that process is dissolving what we're not. Letting go of what we believe we are that is not the truth of us. So tonight, I'm just going to invite you to open your heart to dissolving something that might be in your way of claiming and knowing and expressing your true divine identity. Because, folks, that's what Easter's all about. Easter is about us rising in an awareness and claiming like we never have before the truth of what we are. And so what we're going to do tonight is we're going to have a meditation time, and then we're going to have a hand washing ritual, and I'll explain all that to you. But for now, I just want to invite you just to take a deep breath, and if Jim will just play some of his beautiful music, and just prepare yourself for meditation. And we're going to just do a reflection meditation right now to support you in just opening your heart and your mind to what it is you are willing to let go of and to surrender to. To let go and surrender to what is and what we have made important or made true that is not true. So again, just take a deep restoring breath and just turn your attention inward once again. And as you turn your attention inward, I just invite you to access within your own heart and your own will an availability and a willingness to let go, to dissolve and wash away, and step into a deeper awareness and claiming of all that you are. So just check in right now with your openness, with your availability. And so I just invite you to reflect in your own heart. What is something that you're holding on to that you would so like to let go of, that feels heavy to your heart? That intuitively, maybe you believe it intellectually, but you know deep in your heart that it's really not true. Maybe you've been coming to Unity for a long time and you've been hearing every Sunday or in a class that you take that you're whole and you're divine and you're holy and you're amazing and you want so much to believe it, but for some reason you just can't quite let it all in. I just invite you to look within and just reflect on a belief that you're holding on to that's just not true. Maybe it's, I just can't trust. Oh, I always do it wrong. It's my fault. I'm not safe. It's not safe to love, to put myself out there. I'm just not enough. I just can't seem to just be enough. To have or to do or to be what I want. I'm weak. I can't. This illness has more power than me. Or this circumstance has more power than me. I just don't have what it takes to whatever. Whatever it is, I just invite you in this moment to search within your heart, to access a willingness and an availability to release this belief, to shift it, to create an opening for what's really true. Are you willing? And can you just begin to embrace that somehow and in some way, the circumstances that have led you to believe this in some way are for you? That somehow the circumstances of your life are truly leading you back home to yourself. To know the truth of what you are. Because the truth is that you are and have always been safe, loved, lovable, worthy, deserving, whole, valuable, capable, wise, strong, enough. And as we let go of, dissolve, wash away, and shift our perspective of the experiences of our lives that have been hurtful and wounded us, we can embrace a greater possibility. And we can allow more of the infinite life essence we are to flow and express more freely and fully and joyfully. And the constriction of holding on to hurt and anger, any resentment, is eased, is opened as we let go. And as we are able to forgive, to let go of our resistance to what is, as we're able to stand in the midst of a conflict and hold our center more readily and fully, we rise strong. And we know what we are. And we come home to ourselves like the prodigal son. We know what we can be and do and express more fully. And that is how every experience of our lives can support us in knowing more deeply our true nature, our divinity. This is how life is for us. This is our great demonstration that we honor and will celebrate on Easter morning. So right now in this moment, I just invite you to just search your heart and your mind for what is it that you are ready to wash away, to dissolve, to let go of tonight on this Good Friday, so that you can know more fully and express more fully the wondrous divine being you are.